minutes, and we'll look at a couple of sample problems here. Okay, so what do we always want to try to do first? Greatest common factor, but remember that the greatest common factor means the greatest common factor of all the terms, not just some of them, right? So there is nothing here, is there? We know there can't be anything because we've got a 1 in front of the x squared, and that has no x, right? So there is no number or power of variable that could divide into all those. So we'll just go ahead and start to group this thing, right? I'm adding one little thing to our process that might be helpful. Okay, so we're going to split this. Before we even do any of the math, let's just take a second and look at the pattern, right? So we know that if this is going to work, I'm going to have to get a GCF and a leftover from the first group plus a GCF and a leftover from the second group. And if this whole process is going to work, which of those factors, the blue or the red, is going to be the same in both groups? The red is, right? So we know before we even do any of the math, if this is going to work, we know that this is going to have to look like it's going to have to follow this pattern, isn't it? If it works, right? That's the pattern it's going to follow regardless if it works. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, right? Okay, so let's try this. What's going to be the greatest common factor from that first group? From the first group, what's the greatest common factor? X squared, right? Biggest thing I can undistribute is an x squared. Now let's see what happens here. If I divide, and this is another mistake people are making, if I divide both of those terms in the first group by x squared, what am I going to get? Well, what's 4x cubed divided by x squared? 4x. Now, what about x squared divided by x squared? It's 1. They cancel, but it's equal to 1, right? A lot of people were saying, okay, it cancels, so I'm just going to make that a 4x by itself, right? That's not right. It's got to be 4x minus 1, right? And here's what I think you should do. Let's check this each time. Once I've factored out the greatest common factor, let's distribute it and check. Is x squared times 4x, 4x cubed? Yeah, check. Is x squared times negative 1, negative x squared? Check. Okay, so we know we got the first group factored correctly. Let's look at the second group. I know you guys are trying to get your work done, but go ahead and just put those down for a second, because I guarantee this is going to be helpful. Just take a look up here. Second group. What do I fill in next? Four x minus 1, right? Let's make the work easier for us. We know that's got to be a 4x minus 1. So then you're just going to ask yourself, what times 4x is negative 36x? Negative 9. There you go. So a negative 9. Right now, let's check. Let's check and see if that works. Negative 9 times 4x is negative 36x. Check. Negative 9 times negative 1 is positive 9. Check. So we know so far we've done it correctly, right? Now we just follow the pattern, right? I've got group 1, group 2. What's going to be the common factor that I factor out front? 4x minus 1. So the 4x minus 1 goes out front, and what's going to be left over then? I'm going to have x squared plus negative 9, right? And we could rewrite that. We could rewrite that as just 4x minus 1 times x squared minus 9, right? Okay, so far so good. First factor's done. What about this one? Could I go further? Yeah, that fits our pattern of which one? Difference of squares. So let's rewrite this one then as x squared minus 3 squared, right? So it looks like a difference of squares. And then how's that going to split apart? A is x, b is 3, right? So what's that going to be? okay? And I think we were doing it this, it doesn't make any difference in the order. We were saying A plus B times A minus B. So we'll just, but does it make any difference? Order's irrelevant. Okay, good. We're done, right? How could I check this on a test? Just multiply it out, right? It should multiply out and give me that answer. Right? Okay, one more. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted you to do, hang on, that wasn't it, I don't think. We could do that one, but this is the one I wanted to do. Okay, the polynomial one, or the rectangle one. This came up a lot. So what are we gonna do here? If I know that I have a rectangle that's got a length, let's call this the length and that the width. What's the perimeter of a rectangle in terms of the length and the width? And don't say length times width, because that's area, right? Okay, good. So we could say that the perimeter then is going to equal 2W plus 2L, right? So what's this saying? This is harder than the one I gave you, but it's the same idea. So if they're telling us the width of the rectangle is 5x, and we're trying to find, or the length is 5x, and we're trying to find the width, and this is the perimeter, well, I could plug in stuff, couldn't I? I know that the perimeter is 4x cubed plus 8x squared plus 16x, and that's going to equal 2 times, call it W, because that's what we're trying to find, plus 2 times the length, which is 5x, right? Everybody see that? If we just plug in the stuff that we're given, well, we're trying to find W, what are we going to do? We're just going to simplify and isolate W, right? So isn't this just going to give me on this side, I'm just going to get 2W plus 2 times 5x is 10x. So all I got to do is subtract 10x from both sides, right? And then divide by 2, right?
Right.
And that's going to give me W.
Right.
And then all they want to do now, they want it for part 2, they want to know when the length is 25. So let's look at that. If the length is 25, but the length is 5x, what's x going to be? 5. Yeah, that's just like saying 5x equals 25. So x equals 5. And then we're going to get some answer for W that's a big polynomial with x's in it. What do I do to find out what the length is going to be, or what the width is going to be when the length is 25? If I know x is 5, wouldn't I just plug that into my the polynomial, right? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Work hard. Get caught up this weekend if you're behind. Have a good weekend.